Is everyone ready? Evan, you ready? Hold on, let me get a timer. Hold on, let me get it. All right, good. First, government must be practical, cannot concern itself with metaphysical questions. Its only role is to protect citizens' interests. Why number 5? Political philosophy is practical oriented action must consider the concrete condition. The realization that it was characterized by a frame instituted by which a multitude are regulated political actions of the whole body politic unless some rules are well left to subject free persons to represent a plurality of interests and therefore need justification. 2 impacts. A, government actions will inevitably lead to trade-offs between citizens and they benefit some and harm others. The only justified way to resolve these conflicts is by benefiting the maximum possible number of people, since anything else would unequally prioritize one group or another. This also proves psi constraint theories are useless for states and inevitably violate some constraint, even if util fails. Non-consequential moral theories prevent any action which worse not be able to use util. B, people psychologically prefer util, governments are obligated to use it. Genome et al. 8. The study provides strong evidence outcome effect with people judging at the end of the behavior. The outcome that leaded to be able to see the decision in a different light. People will see it as appropriate to allow decision outcome to determine decision quality. This standard indicates to util since it proved it's not counterintuitive or hard to calculate since most people already believe in it. Second, no act commission distinction for states. Sunseed 6. Any effort to distinguish an act commission was wrong by overlooking features of government. Unlike the government's always vision choice from regular third parties where distinguishing acts and emissions may not be intelligible. Third, experience is the only sound justification for Anthony Schwartz. Psychology offers evidence that humans do not have any capacity to garner knowledge except by empirical sources. There is no knowledge apart from a sensory experience of the world. Humans are communities with rest and nature. We rely like other animals on our sensory experience how things are. We do not have any capacity to perceive our pure knowledge. Everyone takes pain as a reason to avoid an action. Nagel. Everyone takes the avoidance pain as a reason for action. Couldn't say someone had a reason not to put a hand on a hot stove. Any reason makes any sense. Does seem possible. Something which never would be motivated to reduce pain. We cannot from an objective standpoint will hold endorsement no direct subjective valid judgment, no objective view, good overall subjective authority. Thus, the standard is maximizing expected well-being. Plan. The governments of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Jordan, and Turkey should prohibit the production of nuclear power. Kati 520. In the Middle East, nuclear power is back in style. Russian state nuclear power Rosatown opened an office to buy the office of nuclear power project in Egypt, Jordan, and Turkey. The Middle East is home to the greatest number of nuclear newcomers in the world, with 600 pursuing nuclear power. Advantage 1 is relations. Russian funding for nuclear power displaces U.S. influence and increases Russian power. Buzansky et al. 15. Egypt economic situation does not enable to carry a venture of this size. The disarm Moscow to cooperate become more acute as reflecting growing Russian involvement in the sale of nuclear. Know how this fits with the overall Russian efforts to judge the size of the country. The region. This effort is intended to serve Russia's objective. The global theorization continue directly with the U.S. Russia is taking a leading role in shaping the region. Allies are seeing the American they have options to clean nuclear ones. American diplomacy in the Middle East is key to stability in Arab-Israeli peace. Star Wars 16. Our trust reduces the significance of military and increases importance of diplomacy. The big challenge for America will be constructing new diplomacy and regional security architecture that enables the region to avoid a nuclear arms race as well as proxy wars. Withdrawal creates a vacuum that enemies will try to fill. Russia took advantage of American reluctance. The Middle East is a way of forcing itself back on the agenda. Energy proliferation, human rights, extremism, and refugee. We need diplomacy to fill the gap. Preemptive Israeli strikes on Arab nuclear power causes escalating conflicts and huge oil shocks. Rieger and Schiller 12. Preemptive Israeli strike has potential to destabilize pro-Arab regime. The strike will constitute an attack on a Muslim state. Calls for retaliation would increase escalation, instigating a Iranian proxy for weakening the regime and increasing economic stability. Preemptive strike could curtail the oil trade and help significantly over an extended period. Global spare oil capacity are limited and rely on the Strait of Hormuz. Venezuela will kind of import market exploitation or fears of supply cuts and have addressed the effects on prices. Israeli air force will have to fly through foreign airspace. This terms military would attempt to ward off Israeli intrusion. Violation of Arabian airspace would constitute aggression against NATO. And Israeli intrusion into Jordanian airspace would jeopardize the peace treaty. The Saudi government would protest with more than rhetoric. Any Saudi military reaction provoke political crisis and about Israeli and Saudi interests. Nuclear war, uniquely like in the Middle East, overcomes deterrence and causes extinction. Russell 9. Strategic stability is undermined by non-state actors between the deterrent relationship that makes bargaining unstable. Lack of communication by the middle trail. Then it's easy to imagine scenarios in which conflict will escalate, in which the regional attack is considered use of nuclear weapons would be a mistake. We believe the nuclear template can keep nuclear weapons from being used once the war starts. That's development momentum. Advantage 2 is prolific. Nuclear deals with Russia form the basis for further cooperation on weapons transfers and nuclear expertise guarantees prolific. Buzansky et al. 15. Roosevelt has already begun building 4 reactors and active Russia will play a key role in the kingdom's ambition. Nuclear venture beyond nuclear cooperation. Egypt is preparing advanced warplanes from Russia, including S-300 anti-aircraft defense system. Saudi Arabia is liable to expand procurement of advanced Russian systems. Israel cannot go to procurement of advanced Russians. West versus its neighbors with their accelerated entry in the nuclear field. These plans serve as a basis for obtaining greater know-how and as a cover for building nuclear weapons. Spread of nuclear power across the Middle East is primarily motivated by desire to proliferate. No other explanation is sufficient. Big 15. Tier 1's regional rivals have begun acting on their own nuclear atomic ambitions. Nuclear power will become win almost every else in the world. Let every city power in the region has now supplies no Middle Eastern country beyond Iran has nuclear power until 2012. Nuclear power is seen as first toward nuclear weapons option. New issues has legitimate reasons, but that has been true for decades. The Middle East is bucking a global trend. Race can be run as few as 2. Middle East will cause enormous nuclear war and increase the risk of nuclear terror. Deterrence doesn't check. Kremenich 13. A major competition between Iran and other nuclear power could occur by design based on Kropotkin, fonts that appear on those regular losing and connects to different use of nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons might be used as part of the civil war against an external power by Iran terrorist element. Either a proliferate Middle East would be characterized as a geographically tight cluster of nuclear armed states, high suspicion, absence of early warning system, and target weapons distributed small intelligent region will be a prime candidate for catalytic nuclear war. The challenge is not simply of maintaining assured destruction. Rosenthal reactors in particular are vulnerable to infiltration and theft, corruption, and management problems. Ulrich et al. 14. Many workers are fairly poorly paid migrants, workers affected condition of akin to slavery. They were paid very low salaries. Some have had widespread corruption due to the structural lack of fair and accountability. Rosenthal debate director was arrested on suspicion of embezzling 50 million rubles from the 40% of orders, violated standards regarding compliance with transparency, use of public money. Rosenthal corruption compromises nuclear safety abroad. The scale of corruption kids and safety risk raised from Rosenthal can support nuclear expansion across vast distance. The corrupt corporation may fill in gaps with cheap, unqualified labor. ISIS is actively seeking nuclear weapons, possessing technical expertise needed to launch a major attack. Reddish House of 15. There's risk of ISIL using nuclear materials as weapons to carry out. Until that terrorist group had line access to material access. ISIL has attracted hundreds of foreign fighters with solid academic backgrounds and knowledge. We might enter a state of CBR terrorism next before a match on the wall. No skill plots have been unveiled so far. Governments need to be on alert. ISIL is reputed to earn money through economic and fundraising activities inside the terror group. ISIL is building a success on the use of social and other media. ISIL already has the knowledge that would allow to use CBR materials. Under view. Big moves that constantly criticize solutions about presenting realistic alternatives prevent action and drive into breaking ideology. Bride 12. The left health spread to its abstract and good at carrying out these that poor proposing realistic alternatives. The revolution is great from reaction because directing the breaking ideology never make concrete proposals. When we do critique something that these things cutting or ugly, but it's hard to do anything when we have no concrete proposals or depend on production to meet needs. Cut the card at needs.
Ready?
Yeah.
Do any of the countries in the plan text already have nuclear reactors?
I think Saudi Arabia has one functional nuclear reactor.
Okay. The first advantage is about relations. The link card is only about U.S.-Egypt relations. What does that have to do with the rest of the Middle East?
I disagree with that. I think it also has to do with other relations as well.
Read a single line in the card that says anything about any other country.
You're talking about the first card in the relations advantage?
Yep.
Okay. The desire of Moscow to cooperate has become more acute. During the Arab Spring, this effort is intended to serve Russia's objectives in the region.
During the Arab Spring, the top of the card is talking about Egypt, and your reference was to something that happened in Egypt.
Yeah, no, Egypt is an example of one nuclear reactor they're building. This card is actually about the region. I'm not lying about this.
The Ridger evidence says Israel will preemptively strike. Who did they strike and why?
For instance, this card is talking about a preemptive strike on if it were on Iranian facilities, but it says that Israeli desire to preemptively strike is driven by any country's nuclear reactors in the region. So
Israel has
Saudi Arabia.
Hold on, Israel has good relations with Egypt, Saudi Arabia, UAE.
I'm not so sure about that.
You should be. These are just sort of why would they just like.
I'm not sure what your definition of good relations is, but there's definitely been tensions between Israel and Egypt, for instance, over violence in the Sinai.
They've had a peace treaty since the 80s. That's
right. So our argument is that the peace treaty would no longer be a sufficient check on Israel.
The prolif advantage. The Vic evidence. Why? What other countries are implicated in this like need to proliferate? Is that from Iran?
It's talking about the countries in the Middle East that are building nuclear reactors.
The first line of the card is Tehran's regional rivals.
Yes. Tehran's regional rivals. That's
which
countries
ones
listed.
I'm curious as to which ones. It's right after it talks about Egypt and nothing else.
I think it talks about other countries as well. It says regional rivals. Regional rivals means the countries that are in rivalry with Iran, which includes Saudi Arabia and the other Sunni powers in the region,
right.
Which is Egypt, Saudi Arabia.
Why is like deterrence not a thing in the Middle East?
There's a lot of reasons. For instance, the lack of an effective communications framework that lets countries know which and pinpoint where a nuclear attack is coming from. Also,
wait, so the argument is that they can't figure out who launched the bombs, they just bomb everyone?
No, that means that they retaliate entirely, so they can't.
Wait, so they have no idea who launched the bomb, so they just bomb everyone in the vicinity just in case?
No. Effective deterrence needs states to communicate to one another what is happening. Otherwise, it causes miscalculations since states don't know who to retaliate against.
355 left. The order is 2 case. You good? Good? Yeah. All good?
Interpretation: the act may not specify a country that it does not have nuclear power. B is the violation. All of the countries in the plan text do not have nuclear power right now. WNA, July 2016. Under some consideration, and over 20 more countries. Under consideration, not at the government level. Nuclear power prospects are in Turkey, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Egypt. C is the standards. One is active conditionality. Eastern West analytic claims nuclear reactors might be built that allows the 1AR to shift out or take out of advantage, even if they have offense on them. Kills. Next strategy. A, there's no single point of offense. It is for the 1 and C to answer. B, you want to completely shift the app, which kills to our strategy. Kills strong fairness. Our ability to plan and coherent negative strategies is dependent on a stable app. And 2 is ground. The app kills all daytime ground. No author writes about why banning nuclear power from a place that doesn't already have nuclear power is bad. Key to fairness, because debate is impossible without arguments. Future uniqueness is not a thing. In generic terms, in case art, compelling versus nuanced plans, which means generics don't solve. Topical version of the app solves all your offense. You can read advantages to your country with a whole res app, or you could just read that Russia will stop exporting nuclear power. Both would solve. And the vote on fairness, it's impossible to determine who's the better debating. If you're about to scoop from the start, drop the debater on the theory that indexes the advocacy. A, wholly counterful theory and sharply stable Leipzig frames the debate, drop the arg, let them drop some feudal area, killing that ground. B, drop the arg, the same thing, drop the basis. T, that's the advocacy. Competing interest is reasonable, match arms, based on argumentation, are encouraged to raise the bottom, which explain, no debating, exploited, judge to for question argumentation. No RBIs. A, they incentivize the debaters to go on a theory, baiting with abuse practice, killing substantive flash other flows. B, they can run theory and by unfair, which means 1, theory is strippable because we're able to check abuse, and 2, all secures time to give visiting collapse to shell next off. Middle East securitization constructs a threat to justify violent intervention selectively, reveals information to racistly construct foreigners as violent others. Belgian 05, prevailing interest in regional security, or just considering the Western state, whether it's about the security Middle East from making the security post interest in the honor flow of oil association of regional enterprise security as a conception of security was military focusing on U.S. policy makers. President is Iran is any Iraq concerns to do military capacity. The capabilities were not as substantive security as the U.S. and chapter of really security state comes center others and skip the next card. Threats are constructed, their security discourse are creates civil props to make true understanding of social cost behind threats impossible. Mac 91 attempts to exploit the psychological remedy about the enemies. The Russians are dead harmless. Limited to field critical section forms and subject to entire this is represented generated by the enemy or based on the own countries from historic professor by provocative actions and cycle of enemy. Based on religious responsibility, the enemy is real. We have not learned like a venerable reading that we have seen our motivation with objectivity and security is an ontological condition based on a desire to control and manage states of things. It makes endless violence inevitable, destroys value life. Burke 07, insecurity split over a better reasons of the religious exceptional discourse of justification that are ontological, which approval to is it how must be maintained in the future of ontological certainty. The discussion combines with critical system of being epistemology policy to ontology of violence, weakened reserved for escalation violence, permeates being insecurity sentiments of questioning humans which have a nuance outside the values objects. The alternative is to redact the security representation as a critical intellectual labor that makes imagination of a more peaceful future possible. Nucleus 08, the definite countless numbers in the efficiency of bombing city use military technology like explains but more than the concepts of categories used to explain the states all supported by security and intellectuals who for whom the security and intellectual consists the rationality of these systems all the way for such limits to security to perhaps see the logical security altogether the security mythical security as included as the concepts of all these meaningful use of the term that the U.S. state has been to, I think that this only speaks for the division of revision security has been to, by alternative language in may, be significant positive setting on a new path, these sections because the security possible has the willing fact to achieve, I think consistent about security political issues and the role of the battles to critically interrogate the OIC security representation that they correct to evaluate the consequences of the plan. So they do not get to wait case one. Representation must proceed policy discussion to determine what is politically thinkable for offered O2 resolution of matter arguments regarding the way we know the world ontology for small gender representation of actually split up the actors drawing draw vivid pictures of the surrounding saturation representations do not reproduce accurately so much as they critically represent certain features of emphasizing completely ignored representation comes straight on understanding a specific organization conceptual knowledge emphasizing other frames articulated conception is rhetorical important and fiat is illusory. The plan is not actually passed as a neural urge reason but have only critical differences for real effect case. Relations. One, the Guzansky evidence is only about U.S.-Egypt military relations. They are doing fine now. Means you don't have an internal link. Nazer 423, Al-Sisi met on Tuesday with U.S. Congressman. They discussed strengthening relations. Al-Sisi confirmed he's walking continued dialogue with the U.S. The Republican met on Monday. The two officials discussed the partnership for military cooperation and pro-live Israel one strike multiple warrants CAC 15. If Israel was going to strike Iran, facilities not so long time ago, Israel struck low nuclear reactors months ago, discovering four more than injecting natural pieces of fully operational nuclear facilities and it's really striking against Iran's nuclear facilities. The only piece likely to Iran will build upon the Israel's attack will also give the Iranian regime a legitimate reason to withdraw from the Israeli popular reputation is also taken for the goal in Europe and Middle East war doesn't escalate. Maloney 2007 observers were concerned about armed conflict regional power success series for government accurate deal with Middle East interest outside powers there. World leaders are primarily interested in self-preservation for the forces that are risky which could threat disability. Our air bombs are generated to our regime protection rather than resistant powers to unprecedented committed forces which they are involved secondary have to circle the remain borders and the region's ability to continue to simple strengthening from building the entire Middle East outweighs their evidence. Their evidence literally talks about how the Middle East people in the Middle East don't know where bombs came from. So launch everyone. That's obviously a heinous claim that not only can they communicate with each other, but they're obviously able to determine where bombs came from. Everyone has a nuclear umbrella. The second advantage, Iran won't attack anyone. Dabbler 15, that is exactly what their the link evidence is about. Only Iran. Doesn't say any other countries. Dabbler 15, Iran's supreme leader isn't stupid scenarios. Iran even wants to attack Israel. Also, evidence shows that it's not Iran. Zero peaceful way behind any of this conflict. During one of the basic respiratory wars with Hezbollah, Iran is actually pressure possesses for Iran is very often made trade over support to both Israel and the United States during the same Iran occupied for Afghanistan. Iran helped negotiate the peaceful creation of a new government, and even if terrorists were supervillains and managed to break in, you can't make a bomb out of waste. You can't transport the waste for fuel. Craven's O2 waste supposed to take rather than over vertical waste from terrorists conceal. It's been looking for Constantine Wirefield lights, much different cameras from Roger, radioactivity when this few feet and will come extremely spent fuel, or just one was placed in cast weighing about 90 tons of commercial reactive fuel, refrigerated into 3 by not nearly enough to make weapons grade, extracting your air race reading, which would require a chemical separation plant.
I skipped the.
Let's talk about the CAPE. What does the alternative do to create new types of international relations?
Our argument is instead of sort of the pursuit of security at all costs, our argument is a sort of reorientation towards what Nucleus calls desecurity is
What does individual orientation towards violence do about the existence of nuclear reactors or the presence of terrorism in the Middle East?
Number one, I think the same question could be posed of the app. What does it do to those things? Number
I
two,
can answer that question for you.
You cannot, unless you're about to go visit like President Al-Sisi. Secondly, I think the argument is that within sort of academic spaces, it is sort of important to reject those kinds of representations. Nucleus makes an argument about spillover to sort of broader spaces from academia.
So in this debate, by talking about the alternative and endorsing your alternative, it spills over to change federal policy or change some kind of understanding of international relations?
So our argument isn't that it spills over outside of this room and like changes the way the entire U.S. works on the Middle East. Our argument is that this is a better sort of IR model than the one the 1AC makes. You can make arguments as to how the 1AC solves real
Let's
things.
talk about your first link card. The Bilgin 5 card says that securitization in the Middle East leads to violent intervention. What about the app is violent when we peacefully ban a type of nuclear reactor?
So the argument is that the representations of the app justify violent intervention, not necessarily the app itself.
Okay, let's talk about your theory argument. Why does banning it in a country that doesn't have nuclear power lead to app conditionality?
So the argument is you can read evidence in the 1AR saying, oh, actually, they won't get nuclear power, which means you can just kick an advantage.
Wait, we have cards in the 1AC that say they will get nuclear reactors in 2020. Why is the 1AR allowed to say and suddenly deny that claim? In what world can the F read cards against their own advantages?
The world in which their advantages are not real. You're like, this might happen, and why can the 1AR
All right,
just
let me give you
concede that it
another
won't?
example. Let's say the F is a USFG plant that's like the US is building more nuclear reactors now, and if that happens, there are going to be meltdowns. Then the 1AR reads evidence that says, actually, they're not going to build these reactors. What is distinct about your interp that prevents an F from doing that?
Because under that scenario, the US still has reactors, whereas these countries
Why
don't.
wouldn't a judge just say, like, obviously the 1AR cannot deny the truth of their own advantage?
So your argument is going to be, well, judges are reasonable, so we're not abusive. I don't think that's really.
Look, I don't understand why your interp would check. Look, if debaters are just going to be dumb and read defense to their own advantages, which is obviously unreasonable, then how does your interp prevent that?
I think that you're like appealing to some like general consensus that hasn't been established in the debate that it's
All right,
starting to do that.
Start. Stop prep. 223 left. So the order is going to be theory, then case in the order of util, relations, prolit, critique.
I see we're reading new things. Are you reading new things?
Yeah. already sent it. Is everyone ready? Go for it. Counter-interpretation, the affirmative may specify a government or group of governments that either already have nuclear power or have a formalized agreement in place to build nuclear power plants. That solves our ground standards and ensures that there's literature on the question. If a country is planning to sign an agreement that creates nuclear reactors, obviously there are debaters who are on both sides, or advocates on both sides that advocate how it's not safe or whether it is safe. Now, our standards over limiting force, you have to only ban countries that exist, kills, have core apparatus, topic advantages about how proliferation in new states is bad. That ensures that we can't access the core controversy of the topic, and also there's no topical version. Yeah, banning in all countries allows the negative pick out of every other country. We can't ban it in Russia either, since it's export-based, which doesn't cause our absence. It's not domestic, but rather about exports. And also now on their arguments, their shift out advantage, their conditionality argument makes no sense. No judge provide that the read new evidence against their advantage 20 yards. That was cross-ex to their term doesn't solve either. Even if the act where it already exists, they can still read evidence that denies the truth of their advantage, which solves the 20-yard shift. And they have rather you can read generic arguments such as critique and NCs that are also just as good. For example, liberal jam NC doesn't matter what you know, no matter what happens to this great group. They have a critique of our specific links to our specific scenarios, which solves their offense. Three is that new states actually give the net more nuance. Does that link links to how new reactors are key to generate power, how they're necessary to solve energy security or water wars? That solves your argument. And now on the end is a voter for education. Voter for education because the fundamental purpose of debate and use recently with broadline and memorize structural abuse. This means they have to prove an argument or practice use reciprocal access, valid actions, quality of harms. But first, it's the broadline solves judgment intervention and in terms of least or racist bond debaters can always nitpick some minor problem interpretation of structural marginal advantage in the absence of actual abuse outweighs and say ensures theory functions to check and abuse. My broadline scheme making sure there is only running the face of insurmountable abuse instead of just a street tool. So wins around education, holding debates, accountable answering arguments instead of whining, which means more tolerant instead of debate about the rules of debate. Now in the case. Extended Reinhardt evidence, the government should not be about metaphysical questions about individual orientations for violence, rather just concrete interests about citizens. That means alternative doesn't do anything, but we should prioritize policymaking in this debate. That also answers the role of the valid arguments. It proves that there are impacts first, and also now the relations advantage. They say that Egypt and U.S. relations are high. Now this is only about one specific visit between LCC and U.S., not about diplomatic ties between U.S. and Egypt. Also, this is just about Egypt. Our Byzantium evidence refers to the region as a whole, so it doesn't apply. They say no preemptive strikes. We'll concede that. They say no escalation. This is assumed galactic deterrence. The countries miscalculate since they have tight coupling and cyber weapons that could prevent a deterrence from effectively working. They can't communicate with each other either. Effectively, they say no. Iran attack. That's going to apply to your scenario. It's about Middle East region, where in general and on prolif. They say no bomb or waste, but they can create a dirty bomb, which is just release of radioactive material into the region. Also, their evidence doesn't assume ISIS has massive funding and resources necessary to create the expertise to transform fissile material into bombs. Now, critique. One framework critique needs to prove that the Middle East should not prohibit nuclear power production. That's key to engagement and fairness. Anything else moves when it's the offense should debate on an unpredictable basis. And two, we advocate a peaceful solution that allows Arab countries to combat the real risk of terrorism without U.S. intervention or military action. We never defended the war on terror, American foreign policy in the Middle East, and strategically deploying security discourse over contributional identity in the context of the Middle East built in 2K. Middle East peoples of the East may define security as common enemy by considering themselves part of security. Public state security is dependent on one another's policies. They see themselves not as victim of each other, but our security. We have to overcome cooperative efforts and threats are real. Win the truth of our advantage. That proves this proves a hidden motive argument because it shows that extinction is a real impact. Extinction outweighs the structural violence against one in reversibility. Humanity is ended forever, which prevents the existence of anyone in the future. Two future generations. There are hundreds of billion people who potentially could exist that they all kill, and no risk of endless war. Grade 7. The American system was designed concerning the executive Vietnam and Iraq reveal wars. It's probably that policy, which includes the preventive option, might lead to a search for total security. Is not convinced you should be a right to spend debating point with little mayor, and the all doesn't solve the case just because we exchange our individual orientation. That doesn't solve nuclear power. States don't know either of the intentions want to proliferate in order to defend themselves. That's proven in the Middle East, and their role as valid is wrong. It's just a reason why their impact filter is true, but if we didn't prove that extinction to large scale impact, that answers that. And in to both net benefits is that threats could be real. Firm to the act and the alt in other instances. Discourse into primary shape or reactor balls at 5. Threats do not depend on logic to be hazardous, and language do not construct reality. That's shape or possession is not invertible. Whole what we say to permanent essence. What I say about hacking, not change it. Would not change it is where I'm at.
All right. You didn't read the number 8, right?
Yeah, I didn't read number 8.
And then,
and I didn't read judge choice. Cool. Sorry, bro.
give me just a sec. I had
355.
What is the advantage of the 1AC as a minor?
Both advantages, both pro-lift and relations. But we're not going for the Israeli strikes impact.
What's the internal link to pro-lift stuff?
The pro-lift advantage is distinct from the relations.
Or sorry, what's the internal link to the relations?
U.S. diplomacy is key to prevent Middle East instability. But we're not saying that Israel would preemptively strike.
What's the answer to the Dabbler evidence?
What's the Dabbler evidence?
It's that Iran won't attack anyone.
Oh, that's our impact is not dependent on Iran attacking. Also, we said that deterrence doesn't check.
Wait, what card says that like other countries will attack?
The Russell 9 evidence is about the region in general, not just about Iran. It says that deterrence doesn't check and instability escalates quickly.
No, but what is, well, we're on different advantages here. The second pro-lift advantage is,
Second advantage is about nuclear terror, not about Iran. So,
okay. The order will be an overview on the critique, you can flow it like near the framing, then the case, and the K top down.
wait, say that again?
An overview you can flow on the
Oh, so
framing.
you're going to do overview, then case, then back to the case.
Yeah, I mean, you can flow the overview on the case if you
I'm
want, it
just
just
gonna
seems
flow on a
better
separate
placed.
sheet.
That would work as well.
Are you reading anything new?
No.
I'm ready.
Good?
Yeah.
The critique turns and outweighs the case. The militant evidence indicates that if you're at risk of a link, then your threats then the problems within the Middle East will simply be reproduced by the actions of the plan, because we frame them as evil and terrible and antagonize them and cause them to do the same things that we criticize them for. Next, the Crawford evidence is conceded. It indicates that representations are a prior focus to all of the things around, which means that a risk of offense and sort of representational layer outweighs everything else, because the only way in which we understand the world is through the way in which we interact with it. Next, you can see that beyond is a loser, which means you don't get to weigh the case. They're conceptually on different layers, which means a risk of defense if your representations are sufficient to vote on the critique. So the case proper, the first advantage, I only have to win the Nazir evidence. You make two arguments. First, this is only about one visit, but the card talks about how we had congressmen and military officials show up and talk about general strategic relations going forward in the future, and how they agreed to have sort of relations down the line, not just at a single visit, which means our relation much stronger. Postdates their agreement, nuclear agreement with Russia by like 2 years, which means that you should err on the side of our evidence. The second argument makes this is only about Egypt, but read the first Grzelski card and the first advantage, and read the line where it says anything about any country other than Egypt, and you cannot, because the card is simply just not about what he claims it is. The second advantage, the Dadler evidence is the warning is conceded. Your argument is not about Iran striking, but both of your internal link cards, the Kremlin evidence and the Vic evidence, are both about Tehran striking out at their enemies for proliferating. We have read evidence. This is why they would never do this specifically. One, because the leader of Iran, the leader of Iran has absolutely no intention of destroying this whole country in a nuclear war. He says deterrence does not apply. That is from a piece of speculative Russell evidence from 6 years ago. Our evidence is from last year that says that the specific man in charge right now is affected by deterrence. The second reason the Dadler evidence takes out the advantage is because it indicates a specific reason, a specific empirical warrant says Iran being peaceful in the region and them not wanting to attack me. They helped set up a democratic government in Afghanistan after we tried to pull out. They asked Hezbollah to decrease tensions with Israel, which are clear empirical examples of them being peaceful and not just the warmongers that the Afghans tried from them as. The last possible advantage is this terrorism stuff. You can see the warrants in the Craven's card here that says that they simply cannot break into nuclear reactors and get material. You say they can create a dirty bomb, but our argument is that they physically cannot get into the reactors to take them, to take the materials. One, because if you come anywhere near the nuclear material, you'll get extremely ill and die within minutes, is what the card says. And the viewpoint is in order to transport it actively, you need 90-ton vehicles in order to protect the people who are driving them, which means they're obviously unable to just break in under the cover of night and transport it. The second argument you make is about, this doesn't assume ISIS, but ISIS does not have a chemical separation plan, which Cravens says is necessary to critique. The framework was answered partially above with the classification of fiat as illusory, but specifically on your warrants. One, your framework is also arbitrary and is moots all of our offense, means it's not unique. And two, you read a plan which is also just as unpredictable, which means all of your justifications are non-unique. Plus, general representation critiques are a key to check new apps, which outweighs because it's impossible to debate against an app that you simply have no prep on. Generics do not solve that. When was done in the theory show because they are not convincing versus nuance. Next, you say turn, you promote peaceful solutions, but our argument is the representations of what they see in promoting those peaceful solutions are bad and justify bad things. You say we want peaceful solutions, but we want them because they're savages who'll go to war if we don't have them. The Belgian evidence is not about U.S. relations to the Middle East. It is about Middle East to Middle East relations and securitization there, which means it doesn't apply to the 1AC. But also does not have even a slightest coherent warrant. The next argument you make is about winning the threats are real. But one, we do not foreclose the ability for threats to be real. We simply critique your reaction to them. The MAC 91 evidence says that even if threats are real, it is a question of how we sort of understand them. Your framing is everyone else is evil, is bad. We say that we can acknowledge that certain things might be dangerous, but shouldn't blanketly sort of make terms about them. Plus, we're winning pretty clear defense to the 1AC, which means even if they have to weigh 100% strength of link to their advantages in order for the rest to be 100% real and not at all securitized. Next, you say extinction outweighs cross-by fiat as illusory. That you don't access your sort of extinction level impacts. B point, the Berko 7 evidence is conceded, which says that securitization is sort of an ontological category that destroys value to life because people are sort of unable to are sort of unable to actually be considered as people and instead seen as objects that are either going to hurt or help us, which means that there's no there's no unique impact to a dying life as no reason. Two, it outweighs on cyclicality. Every single day you wake up and realize your life is terrible versus extinction that only happens once. The gray evidence is about endless war. We do not read an endless war impact, does not apply. Next, you say the alt doesn't solve case, but you've conceded the warning indulgent evidence indicates when we antagonize them or make or say terrible things about the Middle East is what causes them to go to war, which means the alt is able to resolve that. The permutations, you say the net benefit threats might be real. What internal defense of that claim? Two, you say perm to the app in all their instances. Not able to resolve intrinsic because we do not say all instances the thing. Plus, not able to resolve and not a reason why the app is a good thing. The last ball-like evidence doesn't even get close to a warrant. You cut it like a sentence into the card.
All right, 223 left. Right. The order is going to be an overview, then the util framework, then relations, prolif, critique. Is everyone ready? The critique is a privileged escape from the realities of policymaking and analysis presented with the risk of real nuclear terrorism in the Middle East. They nitpick a minor epistemological part of the ad. The 2NR's link analysis is near zero. The risk of nuclear terrorism is real and outweighs. If we win that the case is a real impact, that disproves the link argument, proves that the case outweighs the minor impact of the critique. Now, on the util framework, they can see the extension of Weinhardt that says governments cannot focus on metaphysical questions like the critique that asks us about security and our individual orientation towards violence. It's not about our values, but rather about the concrete violence in the interest of their citizens. arguments, which proves that you should prioritize our policy-making framework over the representation focus of the alternative now on the relations advantage. Not go for, won't concede that there's no escalation of Middle East war, but they've conceded that it's the nuclear terror impact on the proliferation advantage. They say no bomb or waste, but they've conceded multiple warrants. One is nuclear expertise. ISIS has the ability to recruit people with PhDs in nuclear physics that are able to manipulate the fissile material in order to create the weapon necessary. Second warrant is that they have the funding necessary to create the missile capability. They say they don't have the trucks necessary to transport this evidence from 2002 and doesn't assume the rise of a literal state that is founded on radical terrorism. This proves that this proves their argument is false and that there's a substantial risk of our advantage. Then nuclear terrorism in the Middle East results in massive violence and ensures that a dirty bomb is released, which contaminates millions and even possibly billions of people's homes, which results in extinction. Even if they can't create a missile, they can still release a dirty bomb that spreads over the entire globe and over the entire continent, which causes massive death. And now the critique. Allow us to weigh our offense framework argument. It says that we should prioritize the policy-making analysis we have alongside the representational offense of the critique because it's necessary to include the AF's discussion. They say that our AF is also unpredictable, but we include both the policy-making analysis as well as representations. We'll concede that you get to weigh the representations critique against the AF. It's not solely about policy, which includes your alternative. Now the argument, now extend our grade 7 argument. There is no endless war. This is a conceded argument that says even if there is a link argument in this debate, there's no term-space argument because institutional checks like democracy and elections prevent countries from going to war endlessly over and over again, which prevents it which means the critique also has no impact. They conceded our extinction first reasons, where it says reversibility, since value to life can always be reversed and you can gain more value back to your life, but extinction and death are final, which means you should prioritize our impact rather than their argument. Now, they say they extend the role of the valid argument. This was answered above. This is an impact filter argument that says if representations are first, this assumes representations are first. Now we're going for the discourse not key argument. That's our Balzac evidence that says even if it's true that representations have an effect on reality, we should prioritize policymaking analysis in conjunction with discourse. We didn't finish the whole part, but we got through the first 2 sentences, which was necessary to make this argument. Look, the case outweighs. We have disproven their link arguments because we've shown you that our scenario is real, it outweighs their impact, and they have no link to our act. When the alternative does nothing to resolve the concrete violence that occurs during nuclear power, you should prioritize the question of preventing nuclear terror in the Middle East rather than individual orientations. Good debate.